The GOP is not pro-life. They're pro-incompetency. They're anti-life. And they couldn't care less about you. What they're about is invading your lives, intruding on your lives in the most personal and private ways possible. Just like the Terry Schiavo case. If your grandmother had a DNR, do not resuscitate, they would step in and tell her what she could do. They want to make it illegal for you to take your own life even when you're in critically horrible pain. Imagine these are the same people who wanted Kevorkian, Dr. Kevorkian, prosecuted for helping people in a state of anguish and frustration and pain. But they're pro-life. These are the least caring people on the planet. They're for big insurance profits, and you can go to hell.
Before I get to Michelle Bachmann, I want to you're a physician, Ron Paul, so you're a doctor. You know something about this subject. Let me ask you this hypothetical question. A healthy 30-year-old young man has a good job, makes a good living, but decides, you know what, I'm not going to spend $200 or $300 a month for health insurance because I'm healthy, I don't need it. But, something terrible happens. All of a sudden, he needs it. Who's going to pay for if he goes into a coma, for example? Who pays for that?
In a society that you accept welfareism and socialism, he expects the government to take care of it.
What do you want?
But what he should do is whatever he wants to do and assume responsibility for himself. My advice to him would have a major medical policy, but not before.
But he doesn't have that. He doesn't have it, and he needs intensive care for 6 months. Who pays?
That's what freedom is all about, taking your own risk. This whole idea that you have to prepare and take care of everybody.
But Congressman, are you saying the society should just let him die?
No.
The GOP is a bunch of phony, pro-life cultist kooks. Ron Paul says, let a man die if he's 30 years old and hasn't got any insurance. Furthermore, I think the more germane point is that Ron Paul just doesn't care. He's a shitty doctor. Just imagine circumstances where the man couldn't pay. Say he worked hard his entire life. Say he was 50, 60 years old. Would the same circumstances still apply with Paul? Paul's an idiot and a kook. Just imagine, 75% of personal bankruptcies in the United States are caused by medical expenses. Paul has no consideration for anyone. He's an absolute idiot. What would Paul do under similar circumstances? If he had no money, would he unplug himself so that he didn't cost anyone else any money to save his life? He talks big about saving life, but he really could care less.
He needs intensive care for 6 months. Who pays?
That's what freedom is all about, taking your own risk.
Using Paul's model that you should be accountable and responsible for yourself entirely and whatever you cause, like in this instance Paul describes going without health care insurance, imagine the same thing applied to you causing your home to burn down through faulty wiring. Say it was your choice to go with less expensive wiring in your new home, and the place burned down. Ron Paul would say, let it burn. There's no point in saving it. You caused it. You should be responsible for your own actions. That's principally what Paul is saying. There's no escaping that. These GOP teabagging idiots who stood up and applauded the death of a human being and even urged it on, these people are crazy. They shouldn't be allowed to vote. They should be locked up. It's absolutely abhorring. The GOP advertises that they're high freedom, pro-freedom. They want you to have every right that you have, personal rights. Yet these are the idiots who stepped in and blocked Terry Schiavo's death, which was imminent under the circumstances. She was in a highly vegetative state and couldn't be revived. It was costing the family thousands of dollars a day for doctors, hospital fees, and most of all, giant profitable insurance companies who were taking a portion of that money. It's incredible. This is what the GOP supports. The GOP is about invading your life, not preserving your rights. It's an absolute joke. The GOP isn't about rights and freedoms or liberties or choice. It's about restrictions. It's about their stepping in with their incredibly creepy, Christo-psychotic nonsense and trying to control and manipulate everything. It's completely absurd. They're not even accountable for their own actions. 2/3 of our national debt was created by 3 Republican presidents. Reagan, the great genius who was a U.S. traitor who sold your taxpayers' weapons to our enemy Iran. Great guy there. Under Reagan, the great GOP genius, we raised the debt ceiling limit 18 times during his term. 7 times under idiot George W. Bush, a war criminal. It's idiotic why anyone would vote for these morons. We're in an economic situation right now, so is the world. And we're going to put in the cult that created the whole mess. It's perfectly idiotic. You don't put the worst possible candidate into the toughest job. Obama's done a pretty damn good job. The Dow Jones was at 79.49 under idiot Bush after he collapsed the entire economy and we bailed out AIG for $700 billion. 79.49 to up around 11,000 points right now. Pretty good change. In the time frame, it's good. We'd actually hope for better, but it's a lot better than a 45% drop, which we experienced under imbecile Bush with a 6-year majority of Republicans in office in Congress.
Senator Perry, question about Texas. Your state has executed 234 death row inmates, more than any other governor in modern times. Have you?
The GOP is not pro-life.
You will be executed. What do you make of What do you make of that dynamic just happened here? The mention of the execution of 234 people drew applause.
They are obviously anti-life. They scream and cheer for the execution of criminals, and they say let a 30-year-old man die in the hospital because he can't afford the exorbitant costs of medical care and health care in our country. So they cheer killing, they're for death, and then in the same breath, they're pro-life. It's the height of hypocrisy. The GOP should at least admit that they're financially and economically incompetent. To let them become involved in finance of this country is pure death. We saw it under George Bush. Every single sector of our economy collapsed. He almost drove the auto industry into bankruptcy. Under Obama, he brought it back, fortunately. And they had their largest corporate profits in years since Bill Clinton was in office. These candidates are absolutely idiotic. Just listen to them. All you have to do is listen to them. Their cult constituents are absolute morons. They're cheering death and cheering killing. But just listen to them. You don't need to even look at anything other than this to determine where people's sanity is. These people are not sane. They should be locked away. They're dangerous. Give it a look.
Are you saying the society should just let him die?
No.
You will be executed. What do you make of What do you make of that dynamic just happened here? The mention of the execution of 234 people drew applause.
I think Americans understand justice.